Uncovering the secrets and exposing the lies. That's what readers of freedomsphoenix.com get every day. Readers of freedomsphoenix.com are constantly provided the information that detail the real news between the lines of propaganda about government policies and the true relationship we all have with coercive governments. Learn the true condition of our economy, innovations and technological breakthroughs in energy, health, computer science, and space travel. Learn the truth well before it's admitted to in the lamestream media, the media that is so last century. Corporate media has evolved into nothing more than distributors of government propaganda, but we now have a fantastic alternative. freedomsphoenix.com provides constant news updates on the issues that affect our lives in the most important ways. Our liberty and our property are under constant attack, and freedomsphoenix.com provides the understanding behind the propaganda while encouraging the participation of our readers. Join us at freedomsphoenix.com. That's freedoms with an S, phoenix.com. freedomsphoenix.com, where the revolution between the ears has already matured.
It's time for Declare Your Independence with Ernest Hancock.
Believe me when I say we have a difficult time ahead of us. But if we are to be prepared for it, we must first shed our fear of it. I stand here without fear because I remember that I am here not because of the path that lies before me, but because of the path that lies behind me. I remember that for 100 years we have fought these machines. And after a century of war, I remember that which matters most. We are still here! Tonight, let us make them remember we are not afraid!
Welcome to Declare Your Independence with me, Ernest Hancock, here each and every day on the LRN.FM network from beautiful Phoenix, Arizona, here in the studios of Freedoms with an S, freedomsphoenix.com. Who we're going to be talking with today is Carrie Ann Citron. Am I saying that right, Carrie?
You are.
Carrie Ann is an attorney for the Goldwater Institute, Scharf Norton Center for Constitutional Litigation. Now, she works with Clint Bullock, we've had on the show before, and we've known Clint a long time. Matter of fact, he was one of the first speakers at our first Freedom Summit back in 2001 when the Institute for Justice that he was with first came to Arizona IA because he wanted to live here because it's very nice. And then he hooked up with the Goldwater Institute and doing work over there. Now, this is what we're going to talk about today primarily. Now, we'll ask some other questions. We've been talking about Goldwater Institute here of late, and I warned Carrie. I said, we're going to be asking about this, stuff. But we'll get to that. But I want to get to something else first. We have a little bit of history in the power generation and water system and the Arizona Corporation Commission, and there's a lot of things going on here that a lot of people, it's like a Tennessee Valley Authority thing. You might be familiar with how the government got involved in utilities and the creation of infrastructure and so on back in the day. But here in Arizona, during the Great Depression and FDR is doing all these work programs, that's why they call it Roosevelt Dam for Roosevelt Lake. Now, I'm going to take a couple of minutes before we get to Carrie because this is relevant to what I want to talk about. I'm going to just read a little bit of wiki history with you so you understand what we're going to be talking about. Now, SRP, the Salt River Project, serves nearly all of the Phoenix metropolitan area. A large chunk of its electric service territory is shared with Arizona Public Service. Now, there's a difference. SRP and APS are two electric company providers, and they have other services too. Now, we're going to be talking about electricity. The history is, this is from Wiki, early settlers in Phoenix and nearby areas were forced to depend on the flow of the Salt River to sustain agricultural activities. The river was prone to both floods and droughts and proved to be a less than reliable resource for the settlers. Failed plans to build a dam on the river in 1897, combined with a series of droughts, heightened the need for controlling the river. With the passage of the National Reclamation Act of 1902, funding for reclamation projects, low-interest government loans paved the way for the creation of the Salt River Valley Water Users Association the following year. Over 200,000 acres, 800 square kilometers, of private land belonging to the ranchers and farmers in the association were pledged for collateral, and the association was officially incorporated February 7th, 2003. becoming the first multi-purpose project under the Reclamation Act. Construction on the Roosevelt Dam would commence the following year. So we're back in early 1900s, before World War I. Although the construction of dams was the association's most visible and costly project, an integral part of the effort was also the construction and improvement of a system of canals designed to distribute the water from the Arizona River from the Salt River among the various members living in the valley. For those of you that are familiar with Arizona, the valley here has crisscrossing of various canals, like little rivers that run through here that follow the old canals that the Native Americans used in their agriculture. Because Phoenix, the valley here, is a big giant floodplain. All the mountains kind of feed into here and feed into the Salt River that runs through the middle of town. So they used the old canals. In 1909, a hydroelectric generator was installed at Roosevelt Dam, and since that day, SRP, Salt River Project, has also been a major player in the power generation business. In 1936, the Arizona legislature allowed for the creation of governmental districts that could finance large-scale agricultural products with tax-free bonds. Now, we're in the mid-30s now, okay? We're collectivizing, man. We were on the bandwagon. Shortly thereafter, the Salt River Project Agricultural Improvement and Power District was created, the second half of SRP as it exists today. Over the next several decades, a series of major improvements along the Salt and Verde rivers would raise the number of reservoirs in the district to 6, and at the same time, SRP was constructing and maintaining a number of other electrical generating stations throughout the state. Now, with that history, what you need to know is that the Salt River Project is what, Carrie? I mean, it has become, it's either a government entity, a municipality, it's part of the government, it is the government, it's a private business. What the heck is it?
Well, it's not a private business. We know that the Corporation Commission regulates private service companies, but not SRP. And I believe there may be one other water entity, maybe the city of Mesa gets their water from the city, that is not controlled by a private service corporation. But the basic gist of it is that SRP is treated differently from the other water and power companies.
Okay. I can ask a simple question, why, but I'll give you an example how it manifests itself here in Arizona during the political season. Every election cycle, there is a big, giant show that they have in SRP has a big park that's kind of like its own city. And it's in the, around in the conjunction between Tempe, Scottsdale, and Phoenix in southeastern Phoenix, and they have this large area, and they'll have a big tent, and all the politicians and candidates go there to, do their spiel, vote for me or whatever. When they do that, this is a private park that is kind of its own municipal entity. And when we do some research on that, and we start to find how is it that they get their own, it's like a city, and I'm wondering, what is the mechanism for that?
Well, there are lots of ways that sort of quasi-governments can be created, and they really exist in lots and lots of different areas. We know there are certain authorities, there are certain governments that run themselves like businesses. But ultimately, if they are created as a governmental-like entity, they are treated differently. They have different powers. They often have bonding powers. Sometimes special districts have taxing powers. And so there really is a gray area that, of course, a lot of times leads to questions about legal authority and questions about public policy.
Oh, big questions. Now, this is what they did in the 90s that I, was infamously challenging, called the Stadium District, that they would create an entity that had the ability to do municipal bonds and have all the municipality, like, immunity and limits from liability, all kinds of stuff. But to have that, they become a municipality under the state constitution, which means they're susceptible to initiative and referendum and recall. They go, oh, heck no, we're not. Hancock versus McCarroll. Now, the thing is that it is very interesting to me. We have SRP, then we have another competing utility, APS, Arizona Public Service. Now, when we come back into the next segment, we'll try and get an idea on how APS operates differently and is seen by the government, and is there really level playing field competition? Are they even in the same category? Because in some places, I plug in, I'm in APS. I go other places, I plug in, I'm SRP. Are they competing on the same field? Well, when we come back, we're going to find out. Because my concern is that we're going into hard economic times. There are bills that are coming up right now that's going to give some advantages to some places and not the others. Based on what? Based on what? We'll find out when we come back here on Declare Your Independence with me, Ernest Hancock, and my guest, Carrie Ann Citron from the Goldwater Institute. We'll be right back. This is Ernest Hancock. I'm publisher of freedomsphoenix.com and the radio talk show host of Declare Your Independence. Now, I want to give you my personal endorsement of a wealthy U.S. citizen that is predicting that in 2011, we will witness the most important day in America in more than 50 years. He's produced a video for you. It's a real eye-opener, and I want to make sure that you have an opportunity to watch it. www.endofamerica, the numbers 1 and 7.com. endofamerica17.com. This video has the history of how we got where we are now and where we're going and why. Now, it's a lengthy video. It'll be about 20 minutes, but you need to watch this so you understand what's going to happen to this country and how you can protect your wealth and even benefit financially. Now, you go there. It's free. I want you to watch this video. You need to have this information so that you can survive the economic collapse that's coming to America. It's not if, it's when. That's End of America, the numbers 1 and 7.com. After you watch it, you'll understand why I endorse it.